While visiting his dying father, a writer starts recalling his twin sister's twisted desires, which led to the tragedy that drove him to abandon his family years ago. Ned drives to his family home with his fiancée Toni. When they close in on their destination, Toni removes her name tag and asks her fiancé to tell his family that she's an actress. Suddenly, the car hits something, making Toni scream. Her fiancé assures her that it was just a kangaroo before they step out to check on it. After Ned hoists the carcass out of the way, they soon arrive at his childhood home, where the man's sister Sally greets him. However, she's surprised to see his new partner as well. Since their father is already asleep, Ned and Toni go to the former's childhood bedroom. Before sleeping, Ned visits the empty bedroom of his twin sister Kate. In the morning, Ned reminisces about Kate, who used to tease him physically and liked it when he tickled her. He tries doing the same to Toni but intensifies the act with intimacy. When his father wakes up, Ned and Toni go to meet him. The man is dying from congestive heart disease, so his son reminds him that his sickness is treatable. But Bruce refuses to rely on machines to live for a few extra months. From the bedside table, Toni finds a photo of Kate and mentioning her makes both Bruce and Ned quiet. While they're alone, Sally confronts her brother about bringing his fiancée. She points out that Bruce has been waiting for him for 20 years, and now that he's dying, he brought someone instead of focusing on his family. Guilty, he changes the topic and wonders if she'll stay after Bruce passes away. However, she reveals that the bank already owns their house, and all they'll inherit is the items in Bruce's workshop. Later, Sally shows her brother how the nearby dam has dried up. She recalls how the leeches there scared her, yet Kate didn't stop swimming there. Again, hearing her name makes Ned quiet. At lunch, Toni asks about Kate, but Sally reveals that she's gone. Ned then joins them as Sally explains that Kate was his twin sister. When the fiancé jokes how he didn't share his twin's good looks, Bruce defends that his son is also attractive. However, he jokes that Ned has a weakness for women, which was his downfall. Later, the couple pass by the family's old barn, where Ned found the body of his older brother Cliff years ago. This memory is interrupted when Toni asks how Kate died, so the man simply explains that it was a car accident. He then proceeds to check his father's workshop, but he's disappointed that most items aren't worth selling. Ned awakens in the middle of the night later and overhears his father sobbing. Unable to comfort the elderly man, Ned goes to their old schoolroom and finds the bull riding medal Cliff won as a kid. With the childhood memories rushing back, Ned decides to write about his past. In his writing, he admits how Cliff's death has haunted him since he arrived and how he blames their father for the tragedy. The next day, Ned wakes up late and finds a note from Sally, letting him know that she's at the clinic, so he's responsible for their father in the meantime. Without reading his fiancée or his father, the man continues writing instead. The schoolroom reminds him of when Bruce confronted Cliff about another teen winning a scholarship instead of him. The man berated his son for not being smarter, but Kate defended that the other teen could focus on his studies since his father didn't make him work. Ned's thoughts are interrupted when Bruce finds him, so he excuses that he's working on a new book. The father then brings up what happened the last summer Ned was there. His son reminds him that it was when Cliff crashed the car to avoid a kangaroo, leading to Kate's demise. Bruce wants to know why Ned ran away after the tragedy, but his son dismisses him since Toni is calling him. This angers his father, who yells about how much they needed him at home. Despite this, the son walks out. He helps Toni ride a barrel, which they use to practice mechanical bull riding. As he does, he remembers when he was watching his crush Tamara riding a mechanical bull during a festival. He showed interest in the lady, prompting Kate to slap him and walk out. Tamara then approached Ned and invited him to be her dance partner later. However, Kate suddenly came back on a motorcycle, interrupting them. Later, the bored Toni watches TV when Sally offers to make her some coffee. The woman jokes that she likes being everyone's servant, offending Sally. Guilty, Toni follows her to apologize, though she points out that if it were her, she would have left Bruce and Ned. Because of this, Sally gives her brother a list of instructions that night, deciding to take a few days off upon Toni's encouragement. The next day, Toni finds Ned working again, so she orders him to entertain her, given that he's the one who dragged her there. To distract him, the woman tempts him, and he soon gives in. However, she starts being loud to alert Bruce, so the man threatens to stop if she's not quiet. Still, Tony raises her voice so her fiancé backs off. Covering herself, the woman asks why he never looks at her face when they do it. The man dodges her question and just reminds her that he's marrying her. Disappointed, she tries to leave, but Ned stops her and promises her that he loves her. This leads to them getting intimate again, though Ned struggles to perform while facing her. Because of this, Tony walks out. Later, the remote alarm for Bruce blares, but Ned is at the old dam, burning the junk from his father's workshop. A pissed Bruce tries to stand on his own but ends up falling. With no choice, Tony checks on him and helps him off the floor. Despite hating the situation, Tony tends to the elderly man and even changes his ruined clothes. Bruce smells the smoke when she opens the window, so Tony explains what Ned is doing. Angry at his son, he wonders why the woman is marrying Ned when she should already be in Hollywood. This pleases the woman since her dream is to be an actress. When Ned returns home, he overhears his fiancée flirting with his father and hinting at her plan to leave her fiancé. However, Bruce applauds her, so Ned realizes that she's reciting lines for an audition, assuring him of Tony's loyalty. He then goes to their bedroom but recalls when he accidentally caught Kate without her shirt. She paused before yelling at him to get out. Moments later, she joined him in the bedroom, grieving about growing old and ugly since she liked things when they were kids. Joining his bed, the woman asked her brother to tickle her, so he started tracing her back, only to hear his sister crying. Kate mourned for their mother, and Ned comforted her, but the closeness got the man too excited by accident. Embarrassed, he apologized to his sister, who then left. In the present, Ned prepares a nice dinner for his fiancée, only to find her reading his work. This leads her to discover his awkward encounter with his sister. Ned lies that it's fiction, but the woman doubts him, furious to discover his disgusting past. She slaps him, but is surprised when her fiancé hits her back. Ned quickly apologizes, but the furious woman storms off. Alone, Ned looks back to what happened after the encounter. He hid in the barn in embarrassment, but Kate found him. He tried to explain that he wasn't tempted by her, but his sister insisted on pretending it didn't happen. Dreaming of this moment, Ned wakes up that evening to hear a car driving away. He goes out and realizes that Tony is in the car as his fiancée has decided to leave him. Ned confronts his father, figuring out that he helped her get someone to drive her out of town. He berates Bruce, blames him for Cliff's death, and threatens his life before leaving. Ned hurries to his car to chase after Tony, but ends up driving into a ditch. This gets his car stuck while Tony and the other vehicle disappear. Heartbroken at how everyone leaves him, Ned throws a fit until he trips on the dirt. With his car stuck, Ned ends up returning to his father's home in the morning. He prepares Bruce's medicine, but the frightened man holds him at gunpoint, thinking that his son will kill him. Ned assures him that he didn't mean it since he was drunk last night, but his father is still guarded. The son apologizes and promises that he believes that Cliff ended himself due to guilt over Kate's demise, so he doesn't blame his father. With that, Bruce allows his son to help him. One night years ago, Ned arrived home late after drinking with friends. His twin was in the kitchen, so Ned went to the dam to clean a wound before showing himself. However, Kate followed him and joined him to swim. While in the water together, Kate shared that she didn't mind if she never got to kiss another man. Uncomfortable about the topic, Ned tried to dismiss it, but she brought up their awkward encounter. Kate told him that she felt good when she excited him since it assured her that she still liked men. With that in mind, Kate offered to let Ned touch her, promising that it'd be a secret. She then kissed him, and the two started becoming closer than they were ever supposed to. Ned felt guilty over their moment while Kate sang happily, having gotten what she wanted. She then advised her brother to pretend that she was someone else. Ned snaps out of this memory when his father calls him. As Bruce gets back to bed, he gazes at Kate's photo and notes that he's still haunted by the day she died. He keeps imagining her calling for help during the accident, but Ned dismisses his grief and leaves. After that night with Kate, Ned tried to avoid his sister but couldn't skip seeing her during family dinners. Hoping to get some time away, he volunteered to do repairs at their farm. This appeased Bruce, though he used it to complain about Cliff's laziness. Offended, Cliff stormed off to go to work at the roadhouse. In the present, Ned finds his father flat on the bed after removing his pillows, making himself struggle to breathe. he hurriedly lifts Bruce, who complains about Sally leaving him with his estranged son. Angry at his son's lack of care, he refuses Ned's help, no matter how patient the man is to him. With his patience tested, Ned looks back to when Kate surprised him after he slept at the farm. She revealed that Cliff was grounded since he came home late from his job, so she offered to help him instead. Ned allowed her to drive him back but refused her invitation to hang out. Knowing that he was avoiding her, she promised that Cliff would be with them to protect him. This angered Ned, appalled that she could joke about their encounter. Offended, the woman drove off without him. On Christmas that year, Ned decided not to go to the town's party, but Kate called him claiming that Cliff wanted to see him. She led Ned to the barn, and the man feared that she told their brother what happened between them. However, Kate had apparently told Cliff that Ned was the one who made a move on her. Still feeling guilty over what happened, Ned dared his brother to beat him up over it, seemingly to punish himself. After being provoked, Cliff punched his brother, and the two got into a fight. Hearing this, Kate called Bruce to make them stop. The father kicked his sons to get them to stop, while his daughter defended Cliff, saying that it was Ned's fault. Hearing this, Bruce ordered Ned to escort Kate to the party and bring her home after. When Ned turned to his siblings, he found Kate kissing Cliff's head and mouthing to him that she hated him, seemingly having won by orchestrating his punishment. He writes this day in the present but stops when Bruce calls him. The man asks for his daughter, so Ned tells him that Sally will return later. Bruce assumes that his son will leave when she returns, but Ned claims that he'll finish writing his story first. He admits that he's making an autobiography, so Bruce wonders what his son is writing about him. Later, Bruce asks to go outside, so Ned takes him to the dried up dam. While there, the father acknowledges that his children don't care for him, given that they call him by his name. He admits that he tried to fill their mother's role after she died but didn't know how. He knows that Ned still blames him for Cliff's death, so he defends that he was tough on his eldest son since he knew the world would be rough on him. Thinking of this, Ned remembers the day of the party. While with Kate, she tried flirting with him and encouraged him to go somewhere private. He refused and found Tamara, whom he kissed before his sister. This made Kate cry, so she turned away to talk to Cliff. After getting some action with Tamara, Ned happily drove back home alone. However, he discovered that Cliff's car had crashed on the way while Kate's body was in the back seat. Ned mourned for his sister while yelling for Cliff, only to discover his body hanging in the barn the following day. At present, Sally returns home. While she fetches a meal for Bruce that night, she checks on Ned, who announces that he finished his new book. Since he'll be leaving in the morning, Ned offers to take his father's dinner to him instead. However, Sally thinks he'll use the time to confess to Bruce, so she discourages him from doing so. This surprises Ned, so Sally clarifies that she was also at the dam when he and Kate were together. Ned feels ashamed for this, but Sally assures him that she's forgiven him for what they did. She also reveals that Cliff experienced the same thing, but the guilt was too much for him. The clock on Cliff's car stopped when it crashed, giving the police the exact time when it happened. It confused them since the car crashed hours after the two supposedly left the party, so they wondered where Cliff and Kate went before going home. Since Sally knew what Kate tempted Ned to do, she figured out that she did the same to Cliff. This was why their brother took his own life, unable to bear his strange relationship with Kate while blaming himself for her death. Overwhelmed by this revelation, Ned hurries to their father. Sally stops him, fearing that telling Bruce how messed up Kate was will break his heart. She begs her brother not to do it, but Ned goes to the man's bedroom anyway. Instead of telling him, Ned only confesses that he left Kate at the party because he wanted to be with Tamara. He admits that his father was right. His weakness was women. This allows him to put Kate's death on himself. He also confesses that even though he wanted to blame their father's strictness for Cliff's demise, he truly thinks that Bruce should have been tougher on his older brother. If Cliff wasn't as good as he was, he would have put himself first and refused to drive Kate home. That would have forced Ned to drive his sister home instead, and he wouldn't have swerved the car to avoid a kangaroo. Because of this, Ned sobs as he apologizes for hating and blaming his father. The man crumples beside his father, and Bruce holds his son to comfort him, finally reconnecting their broken relationship. In the morning, Bruce has passed away in his sleep, so Ned and Sally prepare for his wake and eventually scatter his ashes on the farm. After the wake, Sally takes Ned to the community where she works. Her brother worries that she'll be lonely now that she's alone, but the woman points out the kids that she's looking after in the community. Proud of her, Ned grieves how Bruce never realized that Sally was his greatest achievement, not the beautiful Kate. Soon, the man burns the manuscript for his autobiography, deciding to let the past go. He then embraces his sister before they part ways. While driving, he finds Tony's name tag still in his car, so he puts it on his dashboard, wondering if he still has a chance to patch things up with his fiancée.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.